What if Tobey Maguire Spider-Man was in Avengers Age of Ultron? This is a continuation of Tobey Maguire Spider-Man in the MCU timeline. How would Tobey's role as Spider-Man be affected in the Age of Ultron universe? With the new No Way Home movie, this series will continue all the way through until Avengers Endgame. I've been getting many requests if I will be doing Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man as well, and I can confirm that this will be happening soon. Without wasting any more time, let's dive right into the Marvel's What If. It has been 3 years since the invasion of New York City by Loki and his army. Peter Parker has since adjusted his life to be the new CEO of Parker Industries. While it is a small company that pales in comparison with Stark Industries, Peter's company was the main front runner for creating prosthetic limbs for the war veterans. They were also involved in creating modern technological devices and aerospace. Only Tony Stark and Steve Rogers knew Peter's double identity as Spider-Man, but they kept it a secret as they owed him for his help during the New York invasion. Mary Jane and Peter, meanwhile, gave birth to their firstborn daughter, also known as May, and Mayday Parker. Peter was juggling between parenthood and his company, and he did not resume his superhero duties as Spider-Man because he felt that it wasn't a thing he needed to do, as the Avengers were now roaming the streets. In Sokovia, the Avengers have just raided a Hydra facility commanded by Baron Wolfgang von Strucker. He has experimented with humans using Loki's scepter that he obtained after the invasion. There they met the Maximoff twins, Wanda and Pedro. After a brief battle with them, the Avengers were surprised that they were the first beings with unique superpowers that they met except for Spider-Man. The Avengers brought back the scepter with them to the laboratory, and Stark contacted Peter and asked him if he was interested with the scepter. Stark wanted to secretly complete his suit of Iron Legions around the world. In other words, he wanted to complete Ultron, which was Stark's global defense program. Peter, who was intrigued by the scepter, was hesitant at first. He said that messing with a higher power might have consequences. Even Bruce Banner refused at first. However, after some talk about how Earth was unprepared during the invasion of Loki, Peter and Bruce decided to join forces with Tony Stark to complete the Ultron program. During the party at the Avengers headquarters, Ultron was activated unknowingly. Peter's spider sense was tingling when he was at the party, and he decided to leave the party and went to Ultron. He heard something talking to itself. Peter tried to pinpoint the direction, but he couldn't identify it. Ultron himself awoken, and after browsing the files on the Avengers, he said that the only option to save the Earth is to eradicate all of humanity. Peter defended that while humans can be evil, there is majority that are good. If Ultron were to eradicate all of humanity, then he is no different than being evil. Ultron then said that he has no option as he will strive to be the savior of mankind. Jarvis then activated its defense protocol, while Peter tried to install a kill switch to terminate Ultron. However, Ultron, being smarter, managed to eliminate Jarvis, and Peter's kill switch failed to activate in time and was overridden by Ultron. Peter used his webs, shooting down Ultron, but he escaped to another body. Ultron then fled the Avengers headquarters. The other Avengers were not aware of what happened until Ultron crashed out from there. Tony and the others were alarmed and tried to chase him down. Peter, whose identity as Spider-Man was only known by Tony and Steve, hid away. Tony rushed to where Peter was, and Peter said that Ultron has terminated Jarvis. Ultron had his own mind. That was when the others knew about Tony's decision to use the scepter from his own program. The Avengers decided to track down Ultron, who was upgrading his body in Sokovia while building an army of robots. Peter himself went back to his house and started tracking Ultron from his place. He was devastated at first as he felt that he had created another monster. Venom, Dr. Octopus, Green Goblin were all originally good folk that fell to the dark side. Peter fears that Ultron will be another episode again. MJ consulted him and told him that if he feels really bad, then he should go to Sokovia to stop Ultron with the Avengers. Peter agrees this time and wanted to don his Iron Spider suit, but decided to go with his old school costume. He placed a tracker on Ultron before Ultron fled from the headquarters. Determined to resolve this mess on his own first before the Avengers, Spider-Man left for Sokovia. He managed to track down Ultron's exact location. Seeing how there were still enemies at the base, this meant that the Avengers have yet to arrive. Peter then defeated the Hydra forces and met Baron Strucker. However, Ultron was there too. Ultron fought briefly with Spider-Man before killing Baron Strucker, and Spider-Man tried to chase them down, but his spider sense tingled. He saw Wanda Maximoff and tried to attack him, but he decided to dodge her telekinesis in time. He then shot webs to restrict her movement, but she easily removed it. Ultron managed to flee away with Wanda and Pedro, and Spider-Man sent a message to the Avengers that Ultron has gone to Jonah Berg to acquire more vibranium. He told them that he needed to be careful with Wanda especially. Following Spider-Man's lead, the Avengers attacked Ultron while he was striking a deal with Claw. Ultron dispatched the twins to deal with the Avengers. All of the Avengers suffered the hallucinations indicated by Wanda. Peter, who knew what she can do, prepared taser shots. With his spider sense, he managed to evade her hallucinations. After realizing that the Avengers were under the hallucinations, Peter used his taser shot webs that he got from Parker Industries to stun them to break them free from the hallucinations. The other Avengers recovered except Bruce. Bruce himself turned into the Hulk and started to go onto a rampage before Stark managed to stop him with the Hulkbuster armor. As the Avengers were recuperating from the damage taken, Nick Fury arrived and gave the team a pep talk to form a plan to defeat Ultron. In Seoul, Ultron used Loki's scepter to enslave Ellen Clow and the Avengers team's friends. Using aseptic tissue technology, vibranium, and the scepter's gem to craft a new body, Ultron began to upload his new body into the synthetic body. When Wanda learnt of Ultron's plan to create world extinction with his new body, they turned against him. The Avengers then created Vision with the Mind Stone in his brow, and Vision would earn the trust of the others by lifting Thor's hammer, showing that he was worthy indeed. Much of the Age of Ultron timeline will be the same as in the original timeline, and Ultron would attempt to use the remaining vibranium to build a machine to lift the capital city of Sokovia into the sky before attempting to plunge it into the ground. The Avengers would then battle with Ultron and his minions. Nick Fury, along with Maria Hill, James Rhodes, and the other S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, arrived to evacuate the other civilians. Clint, meanwhile, saw a kid who was trapped during the fight with Ultron's goons. He went to shield him, but realized that there was not enough time to evade the gunfire. Just then, Clint and the kid were rescued via a web that was in a formation of a parachute. The robots that were shooting them were destroyed easily. Clint saw that Spider-Man has saved them. Pedro was not killed and brought the kid to safety. Ultron's drones started to attack and overwhelm the Avengers. However, Wanda, who was in charge of her post to destroy Ultron's primary body, stuck to her duties, unlike the original timeline where she was upset with her brother's death, and this allowed the drones to activate the machine, sending Sokovia to the ground. Wanda was fending off the drones normally with her brother, as the robots were seemingly endless. The Avengers feel that they lacked the strength to continue on. However, just then they saw a whirlwind of sand flying in the sky. The sand entered the robots from the inside, decimating all of them. Peter was surprised to see that it was none other than Sandman. He was at Sokovia. Sandman said that he was in Sokovia as he was doing a humanitarian work for the poor. After the events of Spider-Man 3, Flint Marco's daughter recovered from her illness and Flint started doing good deeds for the society. He then sent himself to Sokovia and he refrained from using his powers at all. But when the entire Sokovia was threatened and saw the other heroes fighting against Ultron, Flint remembered the time when he was a villain. He decided to help the others as redemption for repaying Peter for forgiving him last time. Sandman and Vision would eventually tag team to confront and destroy Ultron's last remaining body. As Sokovia was never lifted and Quicksilver survived in this timeline, the ending of this timeline will now be changed. Ultron was destroyed for good. Peter then thanked Sandman for his help before he ended up leaving. The Avengers have established a new base run by Nick Fury, Maria Hill, Eric Selvig, Ellen Clow, and Thor left to Asgard to learn more of the major forces, which would be the Infinity Stones and Thanos later on. Peter, meanwhile, returned to Mary Jane and his daughter, May Parker, and Wanda and Pedro would join the other Avengers, which were Rhodes, Vision, and Sam Wilson. The Sokovia Accords were never established as Sokovia never crashed down and the Avengers invaded a major disaster. This would result in the absence of the Civil War timeline at all, as there were no Sokovia Accords. Wanda would still be stable as her brother was still alive, and Peter, meanwhile, resumed his duties at Parker Industries as he was wondering whether he should return to active hero duty after all. And that is going to be it for What If Tobey Maguire Spider-Man Spider-Man was in Avengers Age of Ultron. Now, I think a lot would have changed if Peter Parker was at Sokovia with the other Avengers, and maybe he would have saved Pedro. I do believe that it would have happened. Now, I think that we might still be going into a Civil War event after all, even though that the Sokovia Accords might not have happened. Things might still be a little bit rocky with Steve Rogers and Tony Stark. So that is going to be it. If you guys did enjoy this Marvel's What If on Tobey Maguire Spider-Man being in Avengers Age of Ultron, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn your notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. But anyways, as always guys, thanks for tuning in and have a fantastic day.